started talking about, they came into this mainstreaming society of separate community. That began the narratives of buildings. People wanted to enter in the building, but it was inaccessible. That's why the mainstream society or the separate of community, it begins with this. And it's very interesting. The narrative of building have often occupied a controversial place in the history of people with disabilities. Itself is a fascinating manner. If we see into the monasteries or the churches or the chapels, it does have another history. The way it had completely utilized the social economy in order to just to beautify some of the people's life. And we see over here how disabilities were kept in that asylum in 19th century, safety for vulnerable people. Others were at the time and since have been them as place for incarceration. They were killed, excluded people from society. Convenience place for inconvenient people, as historian has described them. Madhouse or mad people. Disability was taken as that way because they are termed as they are nothing more than burden for the society. That was taken in the beginning. And 18th century we see both as a place of humanity and repercussion. For people suffering mental illness and abusive institutions for locking away unwanted family members. Disability were taken as unwanted family members at that time. Those people were able, those people who sacrificed their life for the sake of their nation were suddenly became unwanted left. I see Keith has written over here, only 3 minutes to go. I have to highlight how women's and gender equality started. So we see disability, varieties of disability, autism, delimiting. I need to come back over here, the topic, delimiting, because disability is constructed historically, says Professor Dr. Lena Davis, Professor Dr. Gregor Waldring, at the same time Professor Dr. Professor Dr. Faye Weldon has also mentioned about this one only. And lately in Australia, a very famous book, which I am reading this one only, you see, if you see, I'll read it for you. Disability in Australia, exposing a social apartheid. This is the place. Australia is one of the best place where on top of that our university, Flinders, third lived city in the world, livable city, such beautiful place. From here, why beautiful in another way? Maybe the definition of beauty vary, but it's because of the accessibility in these kinds of situation as well. Professor Dr. Gerard Goggin and Christopher Newell, both of them scholar from Tasmania University, has written Disability in Australia, Exposing a Social Apartheid. What does that mean, apartheid? It's someday, another day, we'll be having conversation on this, since Keith is pointing out this. Come on. Let me come back over here. So these professors, they have invested their life for what they mean to say is that disability is a political fight, not a medical one. It's a mortal battle from time immemorial that is started based on the charity to modern fight in identity base. Today, all the people around the globe, they have to convert, they have to raise their voice, write, find out, and speak for the people, for the better world. Befitting for the time, preparing for all, the world of all, not a utopian. It sounds utopian, but it's not. And then only it will be egalitarian and equal society, and then only gender equality, disability, and social inclusion. At that time only it will be. But the fight is going on and on and on. That's why we cannot say this one only. Keith has sent another message saying that in 1 minute I have to talk about once again. So I want to dive into women's rights. In late 1700, there was a book published by 1792 by Mary Wollstonecraft. She wrote a book called A Vindication of the Rights of Women. It was published in 1792, and that laid the foundation. The book is called The Vindication of Women's Rights. I don't have time, so directly I need to come back over there. Based on this, many more fights were there. In 1848 to 1917, the women's rights movement started. Yeah, and 65th 73 Congress, women members of in 1970 to 34, Education Resource and Women Congress, and then 1949, there is another brilliant writer, Simone de Beauvoir. She came with a book called The Second Sex, where she says that, okay, women are not born, they are created and constructed by the society. It's due to the time limitations, until I have to delimit my conversation over here. Come on, your question, please. Thank you, Jimmy, sir. Over to you.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much. I know you're the last speaker for the day, and you've been really wrapping it up. But I'm pretty sure our participants are still listening carefully to you. So again, there you have it. Sir Jalisha Sam from Nepal will talk about the limits and the limits of Gen Z. Now, I'd like again to encourage our participants to ask questions. If you're shy, to shut it up. So simply write down here in the chat box, and I'm going to read it out. Okay.
Yeah, come on, a question,
So,
please.
anyway, this is still related with the international world of disability. I'd like again to ask again our participants to please to write down your questions if you have some in mind. Okay, I probably asked Sir Gitno to do the job first to ask the question. Sir Git, we're down to the final speaker. Any question, please?
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, Keith.
Good to see you virtually.
Thank you, Dost.
Yeah. So my question for you is the concern about Gen Z relevant for this generation?
Okay, that's the question.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question. Any other questions so that I can just answer it? Thank you, Keith, for this question. It is relevant in today's context as it was in the beginning, because until and unless we don't relearn ourselves, there are two kinds of all of we are going to have two kinds of education in coming days. One is just for our certificate, or that will most probably guarantee our livelihood. Another is for to understand the longing and the belonging, that the term I use over here, the longing and the belongingness of this. Who am I when we ask this question? And while answering this, when we say, we'll be able to understand the importance of Gen Z, because gender, it's not the way how they are marginalized. Women in some of the places is still they are marginalized, or in some of the places they are not, or they are in the ruling, yet they are suffering. What might be the reason behind this? And we see all those their brains have been captured by these corporate houses in the form of saying this beautification, and that is what is seizing the brain of this coming generations. Once they understand theoretically that they have to educate themselves, they have to understand the politics, they have to understand their identity, they will know this one only. That is gender related. It's not only biological, it's the society, it's the politics they created. And then only first understand, get your conscience equip it theoretically, understand it philosophically, and then only equality starts to have. Then disability, social inclusions. First of all, we have to see, varieties of disabilities are there, but that is only addressed, that is possible to address, and that is possible to guarantee the means of livelihood. Unless it is not addressed, there won't be any kinds of equal and equitable society. That's why gender equality, disability, and social inclusion will be only possible once people understand the theory behind this, how we are. This is what I think, Keith. Hopefully I've answered this. It's a long, in fact your question is, it demands another half an hour to speak to me, but I think lots of our audience are a bit tired. Any other questions? Thank you, Keith, for the question.
Well, I guess none of our business now have the questions, and definitely you actually wrap up in your speech what the other five speakers have presented. So thank you very much for doing such kind of a job. And again, sir, thank you for inspiring everyone.
Thank you, sir.
So there you have it, guys. Again, we want to say thank you to Fam Talk, Episode 1, Gender Equality and Disability. Again, we want to say thank you to all our speakers. Abel from Fiji, Tuan from Sri Lanka, Moyat from Maldives, Shinda from Cambodia, Milan from Bangladesh, and of course our last speaker who wrap up everything about the limits and the limits of Gen Z, Sir Jilishan Sa. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the day. And thank you for giving us piece of information and somehow sharing your experience. To all our speakers, good luck to you and good bless. So it's time to wrap it up this day. Sponsored by an international organization of researchers, investors, and extensions incorporated, together with the Flinders University Australia Awards Network. Let's have the closing remark from Dr. Charles Isulan. Let's give him a big round of applause.